Welcome back to Next Gen Investing. It's now time to discuss a highly overlooked but important economic data point we got this morning that the markets have seemingly completely erased from memory, and that's the jobs report that showed definite optimism from the month of March. So joining us now to discuss more and give us some insight on perhaps what the market is paying attention to within this report is Jessica Kriegel, the Chief Strategy Officer at Culture Partners. So Jessica, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday after what has been, I'm sure, a very busy week for you as well. Walk us through the jobs report. What did you like, and what right now is I guess, being paid more focus to than perhaps other components of the report?
Well, I love what you said about it being highly overlooked. This was a very strong jobs report. It completely we went over expectations. However, that doesn't matter. The market needed some good news, and this good news was not enough to move the needle on what people are actually paying attention to, which is the trade wars and tariffs. That is consuming us so much that this positive jobs report, while it was good, it doesn't matter. And that really shows the power of stories over the power of data. A good data point will not overcome the fear that can be created when we have a story that is top of mind. And so for business leaders right now, we have to stay focused on what story are we telling about our path forward and how are we going to navigate this uncertainty.
Jessica, you make a great point that, initially there was it seemed like a small, we won't call it a bump, but a tapering off of the selling when the jobs numbers came out, but it's since been kind of treated as an afterthought. And I think part of that obviously has to do with the fact that we don't know what the impact of these tariffs will be to the job market for this month, for instance. And so we won't get that data for another few weeks. So then how do we interpret this today? I mean, it was a great report, 228,000. I mean, the strongest report in months. It beats the average over the past 12 months. The average over the past 12 months is a little more than 150,000. So it shows that the job market is still holding up. But how should we interpret it? Should it be seen as, okay, well, at least the job market is, at a strong point right now, that if there is some turbulence, that the job market might not be hurt as bad, at least in the first month?
I don't know that people are seeing it that way. This jobs report is a look backwards, and everyone is looking forwards right now. And so, for example, yesterday I was with a pharmaceutical company working with their leadership team on their strategy moving forward. This was a pharma company. So as you know, with the tariffs, pharma is exempt, but those tariff policies have not been updated on the Federal Register. And so this company doesn't actually know they're specifically focused on animal health pharmaceuticals. They don't know if animal pharmaceuticals are exempt or not, if it's only applying to human pharmaceuticals or both. And so they're right now in scenario planning mode. But what's interesting is their approach was to take accountability. They said, we can't control what happens with tariffs. We can't control what happens with policy. What we can control is how we respond. And they said, agility is the new stability. We just need to get comfortable with being agile to respond to whatever comes to us. And right now for business leaders, that is the best mindset to have. You just have to make a personal choice to focus on what you can control, which is preparing for how to pivot.
Preparing for how to pivot is a great way to somewhat frame, I think, what so many leadership has done this week poorly. I mean, we were looking at some of the reactions on these various earnings call, like the RH CEO reacting live to the tariffs. That is the opposite of instilling this confidence that you talk about. And so walk us through the thinking about right now how important that leadership is, because I do think it's what we're all paying attention to. If you have your CEO coming out giving uncertainty, the market's reacting as such.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing not to do right now is panic. Don't panic. Step one. Step two is, this might be surprising, surrender. You have to surrender, not as in wave the white flag, but rather surrender to reality. Stop fighting the way that it is and focus on what it is that I can control as a leader, and then take the next right action. What oftentimes leaders do is they go into panic mode and they just start doing more action, as if more action will create better results. But that can be a distraction. It can be exhausting. It can create misalignment. You want to create clarity, you want to create alignment, and you want to create accountability. And that requires a certain level of surrender, frankly.
Would you expect to see potentially that increasing, especially if they have to do scenario planning and have to do more short-term planning?
Absolutely. And you're also seeing people who are looking for full-time work, not finding that full-time work and taking part-time work in the interim. That number is growing. So we have, I mean, for example, this morning I was talking to a leader in the United Auto Workers Union and I said, how is the automobile industry responding to these tariffs? And they said, listen, even though this news might technically be good for us, it's not good for the economy. And what's not good for the economy is not good for any of us. And so we have to not just focus on our little piece of the pie, but rather the system as a whole. And how are we uplifting each other? How are we moving forward together? And so when people are taking part-time work, when they could be working full-time, but they aren't finding those opportunities, that's a problem across the board.
That is a problem. I mean, I entirely agree. I think that is a massive problem across the board. But I really think this was such a good perspective on the importance of right now leadership and many of these management teams really guiding their employees and guiding us all, frankly, to maybe more optimism. As I've been thinking that as well all week, but you framed it so well. So we so appreciate that insight. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jessica Kriegel, the Chief Strategy Officer at Culture Partners.